Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarva Vide Namaha. Sarvesham manaso vrittam avisheshena pashyatah tasya me nirvikarasya visheshasyat kathanchana manovrittam manaschaiva Swapnavajjagrati Kshutuhu Samprasade Dvaya Sattvad Chinmatra Sarvago Vyaya. See how analyzing our simple day-to-day experiences, Vedanta arrives at very profound or understanding of profound truth, because truth or satyam is present in every experience. And therefore, if you have a special experience, well and good. If you don't have, then also every experience can, when properly analyzed, reveal the nature of self. Sarvesham manaso vrittam. The vrittam, the activity of all the minds of all, avisheshena pashyatah. So one who witnesses, who is aware of, who illumines the vrittam, the vrittis, the thoughts, activities of all the minds, tasya me nirvikarasya, activities of the mind, all vikaras, vrittams. Vritti means a state of mind. And vritti, the thoughts keep on changing, which means the mind keeps on assuming different states. And for us to recognize one thought as different from the other thought, as previous thought, we should be aware of the form of each thought and be able to see the difference. So thus we can see the difference when we see the vikara, the changes or modifications taking place in the thought, in the mind. So when it is said that the self illumines all the thoughts of the mind, or thoughts of all the minds, it means it illumines the space, the shape or form of all the thoughts, and which means that the modification of all the thoughts, the vikaras changes. So one who illumines all the changes, तस्य मे निर्विकारस्य कथं स्यात् विशेषः स्यात् कथंचन. The I who witnesses or illumines all the changes or modifications must necessarily be devoid of them. So I who illumines all the vishesha or the attributes or qualifications or changes, how can I possess any vishesha? The light which is colorless can alone illumine all the colors as they are. If light itself is colored, then it cannot illumine other colors. The fact that the light of consciousness illumines all the thoughts, all modifications, all changes, means that the consciousness is changeless. How can I be possessed of any change or attribute? Manovrittam manasseva, where you are the witness of the mind. What kind of witness? How do you say you are nirvishesha? Manovrittam manasseva swapnavad jagrati ikshituhu. Is very clear than the dream. Ikshita, I am the witness of the mind and its modifications, because it is well known that dream is a projection of the mind. There are no tangible objects. So without the tangible objects, the dream projects the whole world. And that everybody knows, because when you wake up then there is no tangible object at all, which we thought it was there in the dream. So we know that dream was simply a projection, nothing but a state of mind. So what is the experience of dream? Dream experience is the experience of the mind and its modifications. So manovrittam manasseva ikshituhu. Ikshituhu, of the one who sees manovrittam, the modifications of mind, manasseva. The fact that you appreciate the modifications means that you also appreciate that which undergoes modification, namely the mind. Said yesterday, when you see the waves, you are also seeing the water. Of which the waves are the modifications. So this is certain. That in the waking and dream state, in waking state also, there are no objects, although we think they are. Meaning that in the waking state also, what the self is perceiving or illuminating is only the mind and its modifications. Alright, so that means that is your Visheshata, that you are the illuminator of the mind. Says no, samprasade dve asatvad. In samprasada, in the deep sleep state, dvaya asatvat. These two things are absent. What are these? The man of the mind, the modification of mind of the mind, both are absent in the deep sleep state. So then, in the deep sleep state, I am the illuminator of the absence of the modification of mind and mind modification. At that time, all there is I, chinmatra. In the waking state, it looks like there are entities other than the consciousness, namely the mind and its modifications. In deep sleep state, there are no entities other than consciousness, which means in waking also they are not there, but at least we think they are there. Therefore, when we analyze totally the experience of all the three states, The analysis of the first two states, dream and waking, makes it clear that I am just the witness, illuminator of the thoughts. But the deep sleep experience reveals that I am not illuminator of thoughts, I am an illuminator. Because there are no thoughts to illuminate there, and still I illuminate. Meaning that I do not need thoughts to illuminate. I do not need thoughts of an illuminator. I am illuminator by nature, not on account of what is illuminated. That I am illuminator is independent of anything, therefore my nature is illumination. Illuminator I can be called if there is something to illuminate. But there is nothing in the deep sleep state to illuminate. Nachata dvitiyamasti antada anyad vibhaktam yat pashyet. Deep sleep state, there is nothing other than consciousness which can be seen. So I am not even illuminator. From the waking and dream states, we may conclude that I am illuminator. Because the mind and its thoughts are illumined. So one may conclude from these experiences of waking and dream that the nature of self is consciousness, illuminator of thoughts. The deep sleep state reveals that there are no thoughts, and still I illuminate means I shine. So in deep sleep, I cannot be called illuminator also. Tad dvitiyamasti tatahanyat vibhaktam yat pashyet. There is nothing other than consciousness at all which can be illuminated. Therefore, I shine in my own glory. Chinmatraha sarvaga. Therefore, the role of the illuminator also is dropped. The waking and dream state experiences, I assume the status of illuminator. Nirvishesha, because I am illuminating all the visheshas or all the attributes or modifications. Therefore, I am the illuminator. But when you take into account the experience of deep sleep state, I am no illuminator. I just illuminate, I just shine. Illumine is sakarmaka. Illumine presupposes a karma, but shining is akarmaka. So non-transitive, is it? That's the verb. Just shine. Shining without any object of shining. Continuing, nanu yadi evam. All there is chinmatraha, only consciousness, nothing else. You said that in the ultimate analysis, it turns out that all there is the I, the chinmatraha, the consciousness, even the mind, its thoughts, none of them is there. Yadi evam, if this is so, tada then, Bhāhyābhyantaradvaitasya bhāvayaveti. In the waking state, looks like there is Bhāhyadvaita which I am illuminating. But in dream state, it is clear there is no Bhāhyadvaita, only Antaradvaita is there. The deep sleep says that there is no Bhāhyadvaita nor Abhyantaradvaita. So Bhāhya, and still I am there. Which means that external duality consisting of the gross objects, the internal duality of the mind consisting of the thought, mind and its thoughts, they are not there. Where I am, they are not there. And therefore, they are not really there. They are just only appearance. Yadi evam tada. Bhāhyābhyāntara dvaitasya abhāvayeti yuktam syāt. When you claim that all there is you, Chinmatra, just pure consciousness, without mind or its thoughts. And mind and thoughts alone, in fact, establish the existence of duality. Thoughts correspond to external objects. From that we know that there is an external world. And without them there is thought, then we know there is internal world. So external and internal dvaitam or duality is established by the mind and its thoughts. When they are not there, that means external duality, dvaita also is not there, bhakya dvaitam or abhyantara dvaitam. Abhava yuktam tayo, these two dvaita or duality, the gross and the subtle, abhava, they are non-existent. But what is existent? Existent is that which doesn't require something else to illuminate. It shines on its own. Self-existent also should be self-shining. So mind and its thoughts and external Advaita, internal Advaita, none of them can shine. If they are not illumined, then they don't exist also. From what you are saying, there is no world at all, external, internal, gross, subtle. Tan upadyate, that is not tenable, not logical. Pratyakshadi pramana virodhat. Your conclusion contradicts our day-to-day experience. That we experience the external reality. And very often when I withdraw my mind or I am just thinking in my mind, I am not aware of the external world, I am aware of the internal world. That means that the Bhakya Dvaita, Abhyantara Dvaita, they are matter of my experience. Otherwise these terms will not come. We are using these terms, external duality, internal duality, gross, subtle, etc. These, had they not been there, then how can you ever arrive at this concept? So if you say that all there is Chinmatra, consciousness, then how do you account for? What about this whole gross world? And the whole subtle world of thoughts and modifications? You know, they say that they don't exist. But then we experience them every day. We experience the external duality, we experience the inner world, external world, inner world we experience. So your conclusion contradicts our experience. Pratyakshadi pramana virodhat. Pratyaksha is perception by senses. And based on that there is anumana, upamanam, etc. So other pramanas are there by which we get indirect knowledge, paroksha jnana. So by all these pramanas, the existence of external world is established and internal world is established. And from what you claim they are not there, so your conclusion contradicts our experience. Laukika, Vaidika, Vyavahara, Vilopa Prasangacha iti. If there is no clock, then what am I watching? There is no time, you say? No place, no people, nothing, no hunger, no thirst. Then what about all the Vyavahara that I am carrying out all the time? Laukika Vyavahara. Vaidika Vyavahara of Agnihotra, the karma, swarga and all of this is Vaidika Vyavahara. Our life is based on that. If you say that there is no external world, no internal world, and there can be no Vyavahara at all, how do you explain this? It's one thing to arrive at your conclusion. It's other thing to account for our experiences in life. That also has to be done. So the fifth one is swapna iti. Swapna satyo yatha bodhat. देहात्मत्वं तथैव च प्रत्यक्षादेः प्रमाणत्वम् जागृत स्यात् आत्मवेदनात्. Says, now we can explain our experiences. And we think there is a tangible world out there and all our interactions involve tangible objects. And there are tangible thoughts, etc., and interactions involve even that kind of tangibility. And we think this is all real. Says, yes, you're right. When we realize that all this world is tangible and real, how can we dismiss it? Yatha swapna abodhat satyah. In the dream also, this is what you claim about dream objects. Abodhat, until you wake up, the dream also is real. Swakale satyavad bhati prabodhe sati asad bhaved. Says Atma. Similarly, so this is about the dream world. How are the external world? This is the internal Dvaita. How are the external Dvaita? Dehatmatvam tathaiva cha pratyakshadhe pramanatvam. Similarly also what we call the external duality, the world, which involves dehatmatvam, the identification of the body, and pratyakshadhe pramanatvam, that I perceive things, I infer. All of these also have reality until you wake up. So dream has a reality until you wake up. So this grand dream also has reality until you wake up. The dreamer wakes up to his true nature of Veka. And then the waker wakes up to his true nature of Chinmatra. So just because you think that I am experiencing things, they are all tangible and real, that doesn't make it real or Satya. Because that's what you said in the dream also. So Tika says, Yatha abodhat prabodha paryantam. So samantat, including up to bodha, swapna satya. Until I wake up, the dream is real. For the dreamer. Laukika, Vaidika, Vyavaharaspadatāya avabhasate. It's quite interesting that in dream also all Laukika, Vaidika, Vyavahara is there. There also I eat and drink and walk and talk, that all Laukika Vyavahara is there. There also I perform karma. Even Vedic karma also I perform in dream. Ishta, Purta may be there in the dream also, because the samskaras are carried. So just because Laukika, Vedika, Vyavahara is there, that is not the criterion for determining the reality of that. That I experience something or that I do something is not the criterion for establishing its reality. Then I see something, like this bunch of grapes, and I see it, looks to me like real. That is not the criterion for determining the reality of the bunch of grapes. The pramanam is that you have to touch it, you have to taste it. Similarly, simply seeing or experiencing is not the criterion for determining reality. What is the criterion? That this bunch of grapes turns out to be mithya when its reality is determined by real pramanam. whether the grapeness is abhaditam or baditam. When I just see, looks like the real grapes, but their eyes are not the pramanam to determine the reality. Touch is the pramanam. Or taste and smell are the pramanam to determine the reality of the grapes. So when I examine this object with the right pramanam, then it turns out to be not grapes. The grapeness is baditam, is something that is negated. So grapeness is mithya. Similarly also, what is the pramanam? What is the criterion, let us say, for determining the reality of something? Abhaditatvam. So all that vyavahara and dream, the laukika, Vedika vyavahara and dream also becomes completely negated when I wake up. Jagane joto jagat disene. You don't see it when you wake up. So therefore, from the standpoint of waker, the dream is determined to be mithya. Not from the standpoint of dreamer, but from the standpoint of the waker. Now, who has the knowledge of a higher reality, with reference to which the dream is determined to be mithya? Tasaiva Jagad avasthanapi dehatmatvam pratyakshade pramanatvam sarva vyavaharangam syad. In waking also, the vyavahara is carried out. Laukika vyavahara, Vedika vyavahara. All that vyavahara first of all requires dehatmatvam. And awareness of my identity. I carry out my transactions or interactions in waking as an individual. As a man, woman, father, mother, whatever. That sense of individuality is there in me in the waking state, then only even waking also vyavahara is possible. Any vyavahara requires a sense of identity. And waking vyavahara also is possible when there is an identity, I am so and so. Dehatmatvam. That happens when there is identification with deha. Meaning the waking state also, if that dehatmatva is not there, vyavahara will not be there, understand? So what we call the waking state also, there also, we are carrying out vyavahara, which presupposes there is dehatmatvam, the identification with the body. Means gross and subtle bodies. So that must be there. And then only pratyakshade pramanatvam, pratyam perception with sense organs of perception. And all of these that there are sabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, all the objects are there. They are real, tangible, because they are revealed by, here also something can be mithya in the waking also. But shabda, sparsha, rupa, etc. are real in the waking when they are revealed by the appropriate means of knowledge. So this color is red when revealed by pramanam, the appropriate means of knowledge, which is eyes. It is smell or no smell, again revealed by its pramanam, which is the nose. So pratyakshade pramanatvam, what the sense organs of perception reveal, and based on that, the inference etc. carried out, all of these have their validity. So vyavaharangam, for vyavahara, the means you require this sadhanam means, number one, identification of the upadi, and then also for interacting with the world or perception, pramanam is required. These things are required for vyavahara in the waking state. So, sarva vyavaharangam syat. So all of this, two things are required for vyavahara. Your angam means vyavahara sadhanam, vyavahara upaya syat. So that's the description of waking state. Kiet paryantam ityaha, how long this goes on? Or how long do you give reality? How long do you think that you are so and so? First, you are giving reality to your own identity, that I am so and so. And then is given the reality to the world and all the interaction with the world. I am so and so. How long? Atma Vedanat Paryantam. Until Atma Kiyat Paryantam. Until the self-knowledge takes place. Atma Vedanam. There also Atma Vedanam in the Padacheda. So Abodhat, means Paryantam. And so, until the Atma Bodha takes place, until then only this identification can be there, which is required for all Laukika Vedika Vyavahara. For you, that is the criterion for establishing reality of waking state. That is, the waking world was not real and tangible. How can you see, hear, talk, interact, eat, drink? How can you do that? Perform karma, attain swarga. How can all of this be? Vedanta says that all of that is, or you think it is, as long as there is identification with the Sthula Sukshma Sharira. When you wake up, then you realize Chin Matram, then that also doesn't remain, then identity doesn't remain. There is no identity, there is no Vyavahara, there is no Brahmana, no Kshatriya, no Pita, no Mata. So, Atma Vedanat, until the Vedanam, the knowledge of Atma, the true nature of self, is Chinmatra, Nirvishesha. When the identification is not there, the Vyavaharangatvam, the means or the sadhanam required for Vyavahara is no more there. So Vyavahara karta hai Vyavahara vodha, as Viveka Chudamani says. The one who sustains all this Vyavahara, Ihaloka, Paraloka, from this world to other world, is not there. So Vyavahara karta, the one who does Vyavahara is not there, Vyavahara also is not there. Atma Tattva Sakshatkarat Prageva. This I is Prageva, up to, but not including. Up to the self-knowledge, but not including self-knowledge. There also Abodhat, up to waking, but not including waking. Atma Tattva Sakshatkarat Prageva Sura Vyavahara. All the Vyavahara is there until the true nature of the self is realized. Tasmin Sati. Meaning what? Atma Tattva Sakshatkara Sati. When Atma Tattva Sakshatkara is there, your abhava is to, then there is no Vyavahara, which is desirable. Because as long as Vyavahara is there, so long samsara is there. Duality is there. Bondage is there. Birth and death are there. Samsara is there. And you cannot become free from samsara unless all this goes. It's desirable that there is a freedom from Vyavahara. Those people want to carry out good Vyavahara to become free. Says, no. The freedom can be gained when there is freedom from Vyavahara altogether. Even if good Vyavahara is carried out, then also you will get next birth. You can't become free from the cycle of birth and death. So Vyavahara, Ishta eva, you will also accept. The absence of Vyavahara is desirable. And that happens when the Atma Tattva Vedanam takes place. Avyavaharya Swarupam Avishkaroti. So what's the nature of Atma? Different ways it is described. Avyavaharitva Swarupam. That the self, Swarupa, the essential nature is Avyavaharyatva. Avyavaharam is not available for Vyavahara, does not perform Vyavahara, nor you can carry out Vyavahara with Atma, nor does Atma carry out Vyavahara. You follow? Atma does not do Anga of Vyavahara. Neither as Karta nor as Karma. Atma cannot be Karta of any Vyavahara or Karma, nor can Atma become a Karma of Karma. Means you can do something with the Atma or Karana with the help of Atma. It is only the one having identity is the Vyavahara Anga. He can be Karta, he can be Karma, he can be Karanam. Atma is no Vyavaharangatvam. So Avyavaharya Swarupatvam, Rupatvam. That Atma Avyavaharya. Atma cannot be the one who performs Vyavahara, nor Atma can be one with whom you can perform Vyavahara, nor Atma can be one with by which you can perform Vyavahara. Therefore, the essential nature of knowledge of Atma involves Avyavaharyatvam. That way you become free from Vyavahara by knowing that you are Vyavahara. So you cannot become free from Vyavahara by not doing Vyavahara. This is the whole thing. Na karmanam anarambat nishkarmyam purushosnute. Lord Krishna says that by not doing karma or Vyavahara, you cannot become a Vyavahara, a Vyavaharya. Or you cannot transcend Vyavahara. You cannot become free from burden of Vyavahara by not doing Vyavahara. Because not doing also involves your sankalpa. And that will leave something in your mind. I should have done that. I should not have done that. As long as Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva is retained in the mind, the Vyavaharatvam is there. So Atma is thought to be Vyavahara Yogya. Then you cannot gain freedom by not doing Vyavahara. You can get freedom only by knowing that your Atma is Avyavaharya. Avyavaharya Swarupam Avishkaroti. That Atma is devoid of Vyavaharyatvam. So Kartrutva Bhoktrutva. Yovat iti dvabhyam. In these two verses, the teacher clarifies how Atma is Avyavaharya. Doesn't perform Vyavahara nor become object of Vyavahara. So next verse is Vyomavat sarva bhutastha bhuta doshair vivarjitah Sakshi cheta gunashuddha Brahmevasmi sakevalah. Brahmevasmi iti kevalah. That's Pathantara. Yeah, okay. That sounds good also. So what's the nature of Atma? What's the nature of Atma Vedanam, the knowledge of Atma? Vyomat sarabhutastha bhutadoshahi vivarjitah. Important. Sakshi cheta kevalo nirgunascha. That's what Shvetashvata Upanishad says. Cheta means chetaita. The one that enlivens, Cheta. Cheta, Chidrupa, enlivens by its mere presence. So Cheta is the one that is of the nature of consciousness and that illumines, enlivens everything. And Sakshi Cheta. Sakshi is the one that is unconnected with Sakshya. Therefore, Bhuta Dosha Rahitya Hetu Sakshitvam. That Sakshi is untainted by the attributes of Sakshya. The eliminator is untainted by the Guna Dosha. What is the limit? That of Sakshi. Bhuta Dosha Rahitya Hetu. That there is no dosha. All doshas are in Bhuta, Panchama Bhuta, but that I am Sakshi. Therefore, I am devoid of all the doshas, the defects of Bhuta. What is the limit? Vyoma vat sarabhutastaha. Vyoma vat, like space, pot space, cloth space, which is present in all of them, pervades all the beings, all names and forms. Sarvabhutastaha asangatmuktam. When can space be pervading everything? Good, bad, indifferent. Whether it is a clay pot or a gold pot. It can be a fragrant pot or a filthy pot. Space has no partiality. Samoham sarabhuteshu. He shows asangatma muktam. Sarvasa vartamanopi tatha. What is it? No. Now, yatha sarvagam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyade. Sarvatra avasthito dehe tathatmanopalipyade. Even though the self pervades everything, he is not tainted, not influenced. That's why akasha, asangatva. So what do you mean by akasha is pervading all the apertures, is very evident to us. But what do you mean by the self pervading everything? So not pervasiveness in the primary sense like space, understand? So Tikakara says, Sarabhuteshu ahamakara vrittau abhivyakti apekshaya. In all the beings, ahamakara vritti is there. Abhivyakti apekshaya. That ahamakara vritti can become manifest only when it is illumined by the self. So one with the content of ahamakara vritti and one who illumines the ahamakara vritti, that is how you say Atma is in all the beings. Every living being has ahamakara vritti. I am so and so. That vritti, even I can know my aham vritti provided aham vritti is illumined. Aham vritti can reveal itself when it is illumined by consciousness. Therefore, that presence of aham vritti itself reveals the presence of consciousness. Sarvabhuteshu ahamakara vrittau abhivyakti. So ahamakara vrittau in the self illumined, it becomes manifest in all the I thoughts. As the illuminate of I thought, content of I thought. Ahamakara vrittau abhivyakti apekshaya. Inasmuch as self or consciousness manifests itself in the aham vritti first, and then subsequently in other levels of the personality. Chaya ahankaryo reikyam taptaya. So first is in the aham vritti. So we say that Atma is all pervasive because it pervades every aham vritti. As though that it illumines every aham vritti. It seems to take the form of aham vritti. Aham vritti is known only because the Atma illumines that. In that sense, it is said that Atma pervades all the beings. Not that it is within the space, you may think that it is within the pot. That such thing is not there. Even the space also is not there. How do you say that this is what is meant by all pervasiveness of Atma? So all pervasiveness of Atma is explained somewhat differently from the all pervasiveness of the space by saying that all pervasiveness of Atma means being manifest in the Ahamvritti, in all the beings. So where do you find this? So the Tikakara quotes, Aham Manurabham Suryaschaiti. This comes in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which comes again from the Sukta in the Rigveda. So Brihadaranyaka also quotes, and that Sukta we saw in Atma Puranam, by the way. When came the time to comment on this mantra or this passage in Atma Puranam, the Tikakar quoted that. Anyway, so it began with these words, Aham Manu, Abhavam, I became Manu, I became Surya. Means I am all pervasive in Manu, Surya and all the beings. Iti tat sarvatmatva abhinaya abhipraya iti drashtavyam. That I or Atma is Sarvatma, the self of all, is described in the words that I am the self of Manu, I am the self of Surya. So, tat saram abhavat, by virtue of knowing the self as Brahman, one becomes everything, one becomes all pervasive. He is explained in words, abhinaya, by saying that I became Manu, I became Surya, I became various things. Iti tat sarvatmatva abhinaya abhipraya. But this is how the sarvatmatva is described in words. Therefore the teacher here says sarabhutastha. The sense that Sage Vamadeva said that I became Manu, I became Surya, that I am the self of all, in that sense the teacher says sarabhutastha. Not that is within the bhuta, etc. Mastaya sarabhuta nityaham teshvastita. So it is, the relationship is between, is not vyapya vyapaka sambandha in a primary sense. It is the adhyaropa adhisthana sambandha. Vyomvat sarabhutastha bhuta doshahi vivarjitaha, because asanga. Therefore, even though I pervade everything, I impart sattas food to everything, I am untouched by the limitations of what I live in. Therefore, Shuddha, Sakshi, Cheta, Aguna, Nirguna. Sakshi, Cheta, Nirguno, Kevala, Nirguna, Kevala. All these Sakshi, Cheta, Kevalo, Nirguna. So all the four are given here. Sakshi, Cheta, Aguna, Kevala. So essentially, Anuvada, repeating that mantra from the Shvetasvatara Upanishad. Explaining that mantra, you can say, Shuddha, what do you mean? Ajnana, with all ajnana, all ashuddhi begins from ignorance. Primary ashuddhi. From there comes ahankara, mamakara, raga, dvesha, and everything comes. So not only am I free from the vyavaharika shuddhi, very cause of ashuddhi, which is ajnana. I am eliminator of ignorance, devoid of ignorance. So even though Atma is said to be the locus of ignorance, not in the sense that the table is the locus of the clock. It is in the sense that the rope is the locus of the rope's knife. Ajnana rahita. So in spite of being the locus of ajnana, I am ajnana rahita. This is where everybody is confused. How can you say Atma is the locus of ignorance? That means Atma is ignorant. But no, I am ajnana rahita. Because the sambandha is one of the adhisthana adhyaropa. I become the locus of everything simply by illuminating them, by giving satta, sfurti, and not by becoming them, not with any contact with them. So without contact, Yatha sargadam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate sarvatra avasthito dehi. No. In the same 9th chapter itself, the next verse itself says, so matsthani nachaham teshvasti nacha matsthani bhutani pashyame yogameshwaram bhuta bhrunnacha bhutasta mamatma bhuta bhavana yathakasa sthito vayu. So how Akash sustains Vayu? Without any contact. The nearest, closest example. Vayu sarvatra go mahan yatha akasha sthita Vayu sarvatra go mahan तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानि इत्युपचारः शुद्धः अज्ञानरहितः केवलः केवल मीन्स अद्वितीय अवस्थात्रय रहितः केवल मीन्स अद्वितीय और अवस्थात्रय रहितः ब्रह्मैव पूर्ण एव अस्मि इत्यर्थः. So therefore this avyavaharya rupatvam, avyavaharya rupam atma. This Atma is not available of Vyavahara at all. So I am in all the beings. All beings are in me, I am not in them. If they are in me and I am in them, then I would have become Vyavaharya. Bhuta doshai, Vyavahara requires some doshas. I am nirguna, nirdosha. Avyavaharya. So it is desirable. Tasmin sati vyavahara bhav ishta eva. That when Atma Vedanam takes place, that there is now a cessation of all the vyavahara is desirable because the Swarupa Atma is avyavaharyam. Kevalatvam vinakti. How am I kevala? Avasthatraya rahita. So next verse is Kevala means Advaya, Advitiya. Namarupa kriyabhyonyah Nityamukta swarupavan Ahamatma param brahma Chinmatroham sadadvaya. Nama Rupa Kriyabhya Anya. So Tikakara says, Vachya Vajaka Tadvyaparatmaka Prapancha Vihina. Avyavaharya Prapancha Vihina. What is Prapancha? What is the world? What is life? Prapancha. Vachya Vachaka Tadvyaparatmaka Prapancha. Vachya, the object, it's called Rupa. Vachaka, the name, Nama. So Nama Rupa. So Nama Rupa Kriyabhya Anya. First of all, this entity called pot has a name. It is a Rupa. It has Kriya or a function to perform. So every entity in the universe has a name, a form and a function. Or Kriya is possible when Nama Rupa is there. So Vachya, Vachaka, Tadvyapa, if Kriya is meant, means Vyapara. The interaction, I carry out Vyapara, interaction with names and forms. That is called Prapancha. That's called life. So Vachya, Vachaka, Tadvyapara, Vyaparatmaka, Prapancha Vihina. Vihina, devoid of the Prapancha. बाहर जरा जो तो कौन से पहला? Vachya Vachaka Tadvyaparatmaka Prapancha Vihina. Prapancha is Vachya Vachaka Tadvyaparatmaka. Vachya the object, Vachaka the name, form, and the Vyavahara interaction with them is called the Prapancha. So, na rupa kriya bihanyah. That means the vyavahara vihina, prapancha rahita, prapancha vihina. Nitya mukta swarupavan. I have the nature of nitya mukta, ever free. Not that I became free. If by knowledge Atma becomes free, then he can also become bound. If bondage existed and I became free from real bondage, then it can come back also. And if bondage is real, you cannot become free anyway because the real thing can never be eliminated. Nitya mukta. So therefore, moksha is possible only when the one is nitya mukta. Moksha or freedom in primary sense is not possible unless freedom is the essential nature. The one whose essential nature is bondage cannot become free, becomes free also, that freedom cannot last. Some people's nature is a criminal by nature. They are made free, they right go back again. No? So they are called jailbirds. And so you give him some parole or something and release him and goes back, comes out, goes back. Because his nature will not change. He remains a criminal. So if bondage nature of Atma, if you make him free, he will become bound. Nitya mukta swarupavan. Bondage is merely a notion, not a reality. Aham Atma Param Brahma Chinmatroham Sadadvaya. I am Param Brahma. Brahmaiva asmi. Chinmatroham. Then Kevala Sada Advaya. Ever non-dual. Kevala also means absolute or non-dual. Katham advaitvam atmana sangacchate. How can you justify the advaitvam, non-duality of Atma? You know, when in all the dualities are there everywhere, how do you justify the non-duality of Atma? Katham advaitvam atma sangacchate. How is it logical? Aham brahmasmi itivat. So, all right, you say chinmat, so brahma chin, param brahma, chinmatro, sadadvaya. It is true that you realize Atma Vedana. When knowledge of Atma takes place, you realize Aham brahmasmi, I am Brahma. So we accept that. Aham brahmasmi itivat. Aham karta asmi iti cha anubhavasya. But then I also experience Aham karta, Aham bhokta. If your experience that I am Brahma is valid, then Aham karta, Aham bhokta, that is also my experience, that also is equally valid. Now there is this school of thought which accepts both these experiences and then arrives at the nature of Atma. Because that I am a karta bhokta, you cannot deny, that's also an experience. And it's also a non-negatable experience, he would say. So for them, Aham Brahmasmi, that experience and knowledge, and Aham Karta Bhokta, that knowledge are of equal reality, you see. We also accept Aham Karta, Aham Bhokta, but not of the same reality as Aham Brahma. In Aham Brahma, Karta Bhokta doesn't remain, but for them, both remain. When Atma is doing Vyavahara, is Karta Bhokta. When Atma is by himself, is Brahma. Water, when Vyavahara becomes waves, becomes many, by itself is just water is one. So just as about water, the oneness and manyness both are real. So also, for Atma, the oneness and manyness both are real. So this is called Bheda Bheda Matanusarina. Bheda Bheda Mata. Then in the causal state, there is no Bheda, Abheda. In the Karya effect state, there is Bheda. Water in the causal state is one. As waves, it is many. So for them, both are equally real. Therefore, Bheda. We don't say there are no waves. We say waves are not real. But they say waves are also experienced, water also is experienced. Therefore, that also is real. Bheda also is real. Abheda also is real. Bheda Abheda Mata is there. Therefore, Aham Karta Asmiti Chanuvasya Pramana Mulatvat. It is my pratyaksha and immediate experience that I am Brahma, just as it is immediate experience that I am Karta. I am Karta as immediate as I am Brahma. So if Aham Brahmasmi is Pramana Mulam, because the Upanishad says that, Aham Karta also is Pramana Mulam because Karma Kanda says that, by the way. So Veda has two Kanda. Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda. Jnana Kanda Upanishad says Aham Brahmasmi. Karma Kanda says Kartaham Bhokta. Because the one who performs Agnihotradi karma here experience or enjoys the fruits of that karma in heaven. So they also accept that it is very clear that I am not the body. Body is not the Atma because it no remains in Swarga. What is common between Atma here and hereafter? The Atma is Karta here, becomes Bhokta in Swarga. So Kartrutva, Bhoktritva is the nature of Atma. Then only we can explain Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda enjoins all kinds of karma and promises various kinds of results. So if Karma Kanda has to be accepted as much a pramanam as Jnana Kanda, therefore that Atma is Karta Bhokta also is pramana mulakam based on pramana of Karma Kanda, which is Veda. And Atma is Brahma is also based on pramana with Upanishad, which is also Veda. So Veda is pramanam, then we would accept both of them. So Atma is Brahma also, and Karta Bhokta also, there is Abheda also, and Veda also. Therefore, Aham Brahmasmi, knowledge also should be there. Aham Karta Bhokta, karma also should be there, because Karma Kanda enjoins karma upon you, so karma also must be there. And Jnana Kanda enjoins knowledge upon you, so knowledge of Aham Brahmasmi also must be there. So Jnana Karma Samuchayavadina. That's how they justify the Samuchaya. The coexistence, simultaneous performance of Jnana, combination of Jnana and Karma. The whole Veda is Pramanam. So Upanishad is Pramanam, Karma Kanda is Pramanam. Karma Kanda enjoins Karma. Upanishad enjoins Jnanam, so Jnana Karma Samuchaya, they are equally real, so they must both be there in our life. Tan Kutsayan. Kutsanam is Nindanam. So condemning them, censuring them. Atma Matam Dradayati, Advaita Atma Matam Dradayati. That no, Advaita Atma is Advaita, non-dual. Dradayati, the author or the teacher confirms that, ascertains that. The next verse is Aham Brahmasmi iti karta cha Bhokta cha asmi iti ye viduhu Te nashta jnana karma bhyam Nastika Surna Samshaya. Aham Brahmasmiti, that I am Brahman. Karta cha Bhokta cha asmi, and then I am Karta Bhokta also. Ye vidu, this is what they take, this is what their opinion is. Vidu means what? This is what their thinking is, conclusion is. Those whose conclusion it is, that it is the teaching of Veda, which is Pramanam. That Aham Brahmasmi is what is taught by the Upanishad. Karta Bhokta Chasmi, that I am Karta Bhokta, is the teaching of the Karma Kanda. So both are real and both are realities about Atma, ye viduhu. This is the conclusion of those. So, what is the conclusion that you have based on your understanding of Veda? This is the conclusion. Te nasta jnana karmabhyam. Nasta, so they say that they are fallen from both jnana and karma. They cannot perform jnana nor can they perform karma. Nastikaha, meaning that they do not accept Veda as pramanam. Syuhu, there is no doubt. See, this abhipraya of Bheda Abheda Vada amounts to your not accepting Veda as pramanam. Why? Because Veda is pramanam, cannot say contradictory things. Pramanam must be consistent. Eyes can be called pramanam provided eyes reveal consistently the color of an object. If this object is here, then also red. In the dining hall also it is red. In the bedroom also it is red. If what the eyes reveal keeps on changing based on space and time and condition, that no, when you are, the flower is in your presence, it is yellow, and it's there, it is red. If this is what the eyes say, there is no consistency. It cannot be called pramanam. Pramanam, meaning the valid means of knowledge, must be consistent. For Veda to be pramanam must be consistent. We say one thing, karta bhokta, say it, But say karta bhokta here when you are performing karma, and say you are Brahma when you are meditating upon yourself. That means the two contradictory things are said. In the state of Vyavahara, Atma is one. In the state of knowledge, Atma is another. That means that the Vedas are not consistent. So if this is your conclusion about Vedas, then you are concluding that Vedas are teaching two contradictory things. That is, Veda is not pramanam. That's what you are actually saying, in effect. Viruddhata pratipadakatva yoga shastrasya. Shastra cannot, pratipadanam means Shastra cannot teach or expound. Viruddhata. Shastra is pramanam. So not only Shastra, no pramanam should be in fact telling us contradictory things. That the color changes, if you have time and place and condition, then you will check eyes. So also the Vedas to say that when you are performing karma, you are karta bhokta. Otherwise you are Brahma. That means your nature changes according to state. And so the Veda as a pramanam is telling us contradictory things. Viruddhartha Paripadakatva ayogat shastrasya. Shastra cannot expound the contradictory nature of anything. And still, your conclusion from studying the Vedas is that the Vedas are expounding the contradictory nature of Atma. Viruddham tattvam avagachatam. So you people who have arrived at this conclusion of Atma being of contradictory nature, because when karta bhokta is there, Brahma cannot be. When Brahma is there, karta bhokta cannot be. So they're mutually exclusive. That's why Viruddhartha. If Brahman and Kartrutva can coexist, there is no problem. That I am Brahma, I am Karta, if they can coexist, no problem. But no. When I am Brahma, there is no Kartrutva, no Bhoktrutva. Bhokto vijanita, naya hanti na hanyate. Therefore, Shastra cannot say then Shastra is contradicting itself. Oh, you have arrived at the wrong conclusion. What Shastra? One of the two. If Shastra is accepted as pramanam, then it must be consistent in revealing the nature of self. And still you have arrived at this conclusion that Shastra says Atma is Brahma as well as Karta Bhokta, which are mutually exclusive, which cannot coexist. Either Shastra is not pramanam or understanding is wrong. But Shastra is accepted as pramanam, that means that your conclusion is wrong. So viruddham tattvam avagacchatam. You people who avagamanam means arriving at viruddha tattvam. By studying the Shastra, you arrive at this contradictory conclusion about what the Shastra reveals. Karma kanda, that means that you have not understood karma kanda or jnana kanda. If jnana kanda is understood, then you know that aham brahmasmi, then the kartru, the bhokta is mithya. If karma kanda is understood, then also you know that it is only vyaharikam, it doesn't have absolute reality. Then you understood both of them properly. But when you understand this way, then you have not understood karma kanda. That karma kanda, even though seems to reveal Atma as karta bhokta, is only temporary until you become mature to understand something beyond that. So karma kanda accepts the kartutva, bhoktrutva of Atma is only temporarily. Bhavishyat vritya, as the Karikara says, keeping in mind what is going to come in future, that by performing karma, this fellow will become mature and understand that Atma is akarta bhokta. Until then you would have understood karma kanda properly. But you think that karma kanda means Atma, says Atma. Do you not understood that? So if you know yourself Brahma, you can't perform karma. If you know yourself karta bhokta, you can't have knowledge. So both of them you cannot have. That means that you are fallen from both of them. That means you are not understanding Veda, and therefore this conclusion that Veda reveals contradicting means you are calling Veda as a pramanam. So you are Nastika. This amounts to saying that Veda is not pramanam when you say that Veda is revealing contradictory meaning. So karma kandat, jnana kandat, bahir mukhatvahat. You are karma kanda bahirmukha. Means you have not understood karma kanda nor jnana kanda. You don't accept the pramanyam of karma kanda. Both are pramanam. The pramanyam is there within limits. Karma kanda is pramanam until the knowledge takes place. There is swapna satyo yatha abodhat. Dehatmatvam tasaivacha. Jagrat so atatma vedanat. So Vedantin's understanding of the Veda is that karma kartrutva bhoktrutva is all right until Vedanam takes place. Then aham brahmasmi. Then there is no inconsistency. So nastikatvam. So your conclusion about what Veda teaches about Atma amounts to nastikatvam, not accepting Veda as pramanam. Although karma kandis are Vedikas, and these are karma kandis, these are jnana kanda, the Veda matva. There are, the Vaishnava that are Veda matanuvadina. Veda is there, Veda also is there. And so this is the Vishishta Dvaita, etc. So when you think about what you are talking, you realize that you are contradicting yourself, or in effect, you are rejecting Veda as pramanam. Therefore, you have fallen both from karma as well as jnana. Okay, we'll continue. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.